Hello, everybody. I'm Jack Asello, and welcome back to Master Debatin'. Joining me today are my pro debaters. On one side, we have Dane Richardson, and on the other, we have Dylan Patemery. Gentlemen, how are we today?
I'm doing good. Feeling good. I mean, I've already master debated once today. Might as well do it twice.
Well, I'm not so sure about that. Dane, how are you doing this fine morning?
I've actually master debated 3 times today, so I'll just leave it at that.
All right, you sound like you could use a break. All right, let's get right into our first debate, which is what is the greatest superhero movie of all time? Some things to consider are actors, characters, special effects, and so much more. Dane is going with Avengers Infinity War, while Dylan will go with a little bit of an older film in The Dark Knight. Dylan, your film came out first, so I'm going to start with you first.
Yeah, and I think one of the most important things in a movie is the character. So let's start with that with Christian Bale as Batman, who not only portrays Batman well, but also portrays Bruce Wayne well as a broken character. And then, obviously, the best villain of all time and one of the best to ever play it, Heath Ledger as the Joker. Rest in peace to Heath.
Oh my God.
Wow, strong opening. Dane, how do you respond to that?
We'll get to the villain point in a second. At least my villain's actually still alive, that actor. I don't care. I'm sorry.
That's a little disrespectful.
Dude, are you disrespecting the dead?
No, I just didn't like Heath Ledger as the Joker. That's all I'll say. But
Fair enough.
Let's get into. I don't care if you want awards. I know what your points are going to be. All right. Listen. Let's get into actually Infinity War. Right. Let's start with the entrances. Think about Thor coming into Wakanda with Rocket, with the axe they need to kill Thanos. That was one of the most electric movie scenes there was. And then you get Captain America, after he's gone from Civil War, catching the spear to save Vision and Scarlet Witch. 2 of the most iconic scenes there is, and there's even more to go along with that, but I'll let my counterpart speak for a little bit to try and see what he can come up with.
Fair enough. Dylan, a point to you. Obviously, Avengers Infinity War takes place within a cinematic universe. Do you think that The Dark Knight should be given a lot more love due to the fact that it's one of the very last truly solo superhero films?
Yeah, I mean, you look at Batman, and it's him. He's the guy in this movie, and it's the way that they're able to have the relationship between Batman and Joker. And you want to talk about, like, iconic scenes? Let's talk about the interrogation scene between Batman and Joker. Them going foot for foot. Both of them need each other. Batman, he's not going to kill Joker because that's not with him. And Joker wants Batman alive because that's his only will for living. He loves interacting with Batman.
You know, if they want each other alive, the bad guy or the good guy, someone has to die, right? And you want to talk about Thanos. He's actually the greatest villain of all time. And the snap of the fingers, I am inevitable. Yes, he brings everyone to dust. And let's go to the Wakanda scene. I mean, even just the start of that, you just hear like the Congo drums and like Wakanda Forever, Black Panther, bro. I mean, it's just like riled me up, gave me the chills, even more than when I broadcasted in Yankee Stadium. And we're talking about movies here. I mean, just straight up chills, brought me to tears almost. Brought me to tears.
Now, Dane, I'm going to ask you another question. You mentioned Thanos being one of the most iconic villains. And do you think part of that was due to all the buildup he had over the course of 20 movies before Infinity War?
That's dang right, Jack. I mean, you want to talk about the buildup. Oh, it's so tiring watching 20 movies. Well, I started early, as should, or you could just binge it at the same time. But that buildup, it really brings so much to it. I remember how many times I cried at Avengers Endgame, but that buildup makes the movie that much better. And you're saying, oh, yeah, you can just sit down and watch Dark Knight. It doesn't have that same emotional effect on you, which is why Infinity War is the greatest superhero movie of all time.
But see, we're talking about the greatest movie of all time. And if I have to watch like 18 other movies beforehand, then it's more about being the greatest series of movies of all time together, where this is the greatest individual by itself superhero movie of all time. I mean, you don't have, obviously it is within the trilogy and this is the second movie of the variation, but you don't have to have watched the first one to understand. It's Batman's origin story. We know he's Batman. You can kind of get a general understanding just with common knowledge throughout the world.
Now, Dylan, I'm going to ask you another question. You could also argue that The Dark Knight is a character study more than an actual superhero film based off how they treat the city of Gotham and its people within.
Yeah, so what does encapsulate a superhero movie? Obviously, there's the villain, and who's kind of putting out that experiment? The villain in this movie. It's the Joker. He's trying to prove that society will go mad if they're given the choices to do so, but instead we trust in humanity and figure that out, and Batman just helps and coincides with it. And let's go to the fact that, like, yes, superhero movies, like, people have superpowers and stuff. How about the fact that this is the best take on a realistic superhero of all time?
Realistic superheroes aren't realistic. If I had invisibility or like Captain America's super strength, dude, I'd be amazing, dude. I'd love my life. But guess what? I don't. So it's not necessarily supposed to be realistic. And now let's go to the greatest battle scene of all time, in Wakanda. I mean, everyone, all
When you
those
argue Endgame's the best battle of all time,
No,
I mean,
would
and that's
say-
a whole different movie.
I would say Infinity War and Endgame are pretty even, but arguably the best battle scene of all time. Listen, you have all those superheroes there against arguably one of the greatest villains of all time.
But Thanos
And
isn't
Thanos,
even
and you
at the
just have-
location.
But you actually have. He snaps his fingers in Wakanda.
Yeah, but not
of course,
till
he comes
afterwards.
to the location. Well, he had to come to the location, so that's actually an incorrect statement, ladies and gentlemen. And I know we don't have much time left, so Jack, you can go ahead.
Yes, thank you. Not much time left. Dylan, what are your final thoughts?
Well, I'm just saying Thanos wasn't even at that Wakanda scene until the end. It was all these aliens and stuff that were almost basically killed them. So, like, I don't know. But, I mean, we look at it, Batman, Joker, Heath Ledger, Christian Bale, two of the best people to play each other. Great on-screen chemistry there. The best villain and superhero to compete against each other.
Dane, final
Army
final
of
word.
like 1,000 or hundreds of thousands of people they were actually fighting against. So I don't think Batman can do that. Also, Superman's better. Infinity War all the way.
Well said, gentlemen. Coming up, our debaters will discuss whether Jeremy Goldstein's support is what's been holding the Yankees back all these years. Plus, we'll also discuss how Pete Johans' most recent arrest is due to either the Cortica Jug loss or is he just plain insane. Stay with us.